everybody has found a seat, and so we can start with this wonderful event of this afternoon, which is an interview with August de Loor. And I don't think there are many people in Amsterdam who know so much about drug history and have been such an important part of drug policy and drug assisting drug users. And well, you have done so many things, we cannot do justice to it in the hour or so that we have. But let's try to make a start by introducing you first to the audience. And can you all hear me fine? Is this loud enough? Good. I will be interviewing August de Loor, who has been a street corner worker in Amsterdam since the late 1960s. Just as the youth culture and drug culture were really also blossoming. And he also saw the advent of the so-called heroin epidemic, as it was called back then. And in those days, he was the co-founder of the MDHG, one of our partners in the project. De medische dienst voor heroïnegebruikers, giving help to heroin users, for whom there was little care at the time available.
There was a lot of care, but wrong care.
Wrong care available. I stand corrected.
And it was 1975.
Was it? Okay,
Yes.
history is corrected as we speak.
I have to correct more things, but
Okay,
go ahead.
that's okay, that's okay, that's what you're here for. And then you have been active in the Safe House campaign, and look what you have brought with you about this, about safe ecstasy, MDMA use at house parties. We'll be talking about that later. And you have been running for 30 years a very important drug consultation bureau in Amsterdam, giving advice about drug use to users, to policymakers, and so on.
And then it's also, can you go back? It still exists.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm still doing it. I do the fighting for legalization cannabis, fighting for legalized ecstasy, give advice to local doctors. So my consultation bureau is still running.
Right.
I just came from Mexico because they started also legalization of cannabis. So I give all my knowledge of the last 50 years to everyone who want to listen.
Okay, very good.
The last thing you forgot, I'm a grandfather.
And congratulations with that.
Thank you.
Most important job. Okay.
It still has to start, eh? It has to start.
Here are some, screenshots from television documentaries about your work at the house parties. We see here August in action at a house party in the early 1990s in Amsterdam. Where you can see, okay, he was doing a stand with ecstasy testing for 2 guilders 50 at the time, about €250, giving advice to a visitor, saying, okay, don't buy the blue pills, don't buy from dealers on the dance floor, look out for fake pills, have your pills tested. And we will be talking about that much more. Because of course, that's what you're very famous for internationally and nationally. But what people don't know is that this drug testing had a very long prehistory. And it even began already in the 1960s, early 70s with cannabis testing.
Yes.
Could you maybe tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, I started as street corner worker in Amsterdam. To give the nameless a voice. So young people run away from home, unemployment. Amsterdam was a poor city at that time with a lot of problems. And I started as a street corner worker. And the first thing I thought that when the modern use of drugs came up in that time, I think the modern time started in the 60s. You see, so also the change from alcohol to other nice things, and the first thing was cannabis. And what you saw that the police was chasing the users, and was a lot of arresting in the city. And the Jelinek, the addiction clinics, opened their doors, come to us, and we will make you clean again. Sometimes you had to be in hospital by the law for 6 weeks. And what I saw on the street was a lot of noise among the young people because they want to smoke. They had no possibilities for the quality, to testing the qualities. There was a lot of rumor, and there was a lot of danger of the stepping stone, that you go from cannabis to other drugs. And then, as a street corner worker, I saw that. I saw the reflection of criminalization. I saw the reflection of medicalization of the cannabis user. And I said, we have to do something about it. So we find the professor in a local hospital, Professor van der Kamp, a wonderful guy. And Koos Zwart, he's also a most important figure. And then we started testing cannabis. And we brought it into the laboratorium of the local hospital here in Amsterdam. And with that test results, we go back to the places where you can buy the cannabis on the street, in the parks. It was also the start of home dealers in the open use clubs. So the Rolling Stones were playing, and in the corner you can buy your cannabis. We talk about the early 70s.
And this is in Paradiso, the
Paradiso,
Milky Way. That kind of place.
That was also the start of that the old-fashioned youth clubhouses also opened the doors to the new society. And the cannabis was a part of that. So the testing of cannabis was not only to control the quality and to minimize the rumor around it and the Indian stories, and there is poison in it, blah, blah. So because when you criminalize something, Indian story starts, always. Rumor, fear, you see? That's one of the things. And pollution.
And why did this guy van der Kamp from the hospital, the WG hospital, why did he want to participate in this testing in his laboratory of his hospital?
I never asked him. Because he thought, we have to do this. This is normal, you see. And his assistant, Jan Philip Kok, is still the head of my office. So he's 90 years old, but please interview him. Because he is the real pioneer, because I was a street corner worker, you see. So I have a lot of anarchy in my brains. But the laboratorium, they were controlled by the medical conservative direction. So Professor van der Kamp, I love you. That was the start.
Great story. And then how did you communicate these results to the users? You mentioned going to places where they were buying, but did you also publish something? How did you communicate about the quality to the people you wanted to inform?
Testing, it's an instrument. You need instruments, but testing is also an instrument to start new projects. So the new project was a house dealer in Paradiso.
Yeah.
A new project, the coffee shop. So, for the first time in history, little places where you can buy coffee and tea, they opened the doors. We controlled the cannabis, and they opened the first coffee shop, like the Bulldog. Everyone knows the Bulldog, the world famous coffee shop. He started in that time, and we were testing his products.
Right.
So. And then also every Saturday there was a national radio program, and we brought on the national radio program all the quality and the prices of the cannabis, and also all the rumor, and also the stories that the stepping stone theory is bullshit.
And this was done by Koos Zwart.
Koos Zwart, yes.
And it was a socialist radio program.
Yes.
That gave way to.
It was the movement of finding the new way of use cultures.
Yeah.
And to influence them.
Because that's what you said. It's not just about testing. really you introduced also a new way of looking at drug use and dealing with it.
Yes.
You called it the third way.
Yes, but one most important result by the testing of cannabis, it was the change in 1976. The Dutch law changed that the selling of soft drugs were decriminalized. So the coffee shop became, from the law in 1976, 76, they gave een wettelijke, legal basis to open the doors. And I think also the testing of cannabis is a really important part to achieve these results. And now we have from the early 1970s till the 90s, there were more than 2,000 coffee shops in Holland. And what you see now is, there are still 400 or 500 left. And even the mayor here in Amsterdam, the most left mayor in Amsterdam, want to close down more coffee shops, and also that tourists are not allowed to come in coffee shops anymore. We are living in a crazy time. So what you see in all the 50 years, that the free time, when people, you don't live to work, you work to live. And you need free time to do your sports, to do your, to achieve your own identity. You see, sexually, by your friends, etc. So it needs a lot of room of multicultural possibilities for going out. You see that in pubs, you see that in restaurants, you see that alcohol-related. It was booming now, and it's okay. Because a cafe is important. And so you have a cafe for the gay, you have a cafe for the lesbo, you have a cafe for the football fans, you have a cafe for the old-fashioned people, for the Turkish people. So, and that is developed in the last 50 years, the modern time we're living in. The second drug in our society is cannabis. And what you see, never in the world there are coffee shops. Even in the countries they legalize cannabis. And in Holland, they closed down from 2,000 to 500 coffee shops. But in the meantime, cannabis became also from a hippie culture to a culture among a lot of people, you see. Cannabis is the second drug after alcohol. So you need a setting of coffee shops where you can blow, where you can talk, where you can, with your own people. When someone grabs you when you smoke too much, you see, like a pub, but then for cannabis.
Yeah. And you need quality control. So basically your drug testing
I'm sorry
was also...
that I'm,
no, that's okay.
I'm a priest. Sometimes I'm a priest.
Sometimes I pull you back a little bit to the story, because this drug testing was also about quality control of this new lifestyle, of this new popular drug that was rising, and accepting the use of it as well, and informing the consumer instead of criminalizing and medicalizing the consumer.
That was the third way.
The third way, as you
yes,
call it.
I already explained when the modern drug use started, and when the cannabis started, and also the LSD and the speed, and we never knew that the heroin was coming. We talk about the 70s. We talk about it later. So,
the third way.
Yes, I already explained. The reaction of the society was conservative. Police, addiction clinics. And what we did was the third way. So, a society who don't understand these modern phenomena, like drug use, and that you go out, you have no control over yourself, and the same as alcohol, but then with the other drugs, you see, the society is a little bit afraid of that, and that's okay. Afraidness is also awareness. But when you give the awareness to the police and you give the awareness to the addiction clinics, the society becomes lazy. Oh, they do the job, and they do the job. What we did with the third way is we together do the job. You see? So like a house dealer with cannabis, as a part of the setting of the new going out culture, like when the Rolling Stones are playing, that's an integrated drugs policy in the normal society. So the third way, it was also when I started with the MDHG in 1971, it was the third way.
Yeah.
The third way to give the society the power they have to deal with the new situation.
And not leave it to the police and addiction treatment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because they criminalize it, they medicalize it, and the society becomes lazy. And what we did, and the drug testing is the red line in that.
Yeah.
To all the drugs. Also the heroin and later the ecstasy, blah, blah.
So you wanted to point society to its responsibility to deal with this new phenomenon. And then heroin came. But you could use the drug testing again in a new way for this new drug. You didn't expect it. Nobody expected it in the Netherlands. People said, oh, that's an American thing. We are here so good with our drug information and so on. We will not have the problems like America. But we did. So how did you continue with the drug testing around heroin?
Drug testing of heroin only is important when there is rumor. You see, like a cannabis user, he has money, he takes time to wait for buying, for the results of the laboratorium. But an heroin user, he never has time. He's running behind his Chinese or his, you see. So the heroin testing with Professor van der Kamp in the laboratorium was only focused of, with testing we can follow the trends of the heroin. You see, nowadays it's so popular that they control the rioolwater, the
sewer.
The sewer. That's the new trend. Eh?
Yeah,
that,
to
we
measure
know the drug trends by testing.
Sewer water.
It is bullshit. It don't learn nothing. With drug testing, you learn in which group it's using, the different techniques they use. Like smoking of heroin is completely different than shooting. They have their own risk. They have their own. Even when they polluted the heroin by a smoker, it didn't have effect. By a shooter, it had effect. You see, so your drug prevention, your harm reduction program have no any help by the testing of the shit. The drug testing, it's your guide, what you can do. You see, it's the monitoring, and especially when there is poisoned heroin, you can jump on it.
We've had that in the 70s, early 80s, a couple of times in Amsterdam.
Yeah. So many times.
People really dying of heroin.
Yeah. In 1984, and in 4 weeks, more than 26 Suriname users, and they smoking, they were dying, and the shooters, they didn't die. So what we did is with a megaphone, we go on the places where the users and collect the heroin for the testing. We didn't find it, what was in it. I asked the government, the Amsterdam city, for 1,000 gulden to buy the heroin. They didn't give it. And a few years ago, in 2014, we know about the white heroin problem. You know that? The Ignore Street Dealer campaign. With three tourists dead. 3 too much. We also developed a new drug testing system for that. I explain it later. 3 dead. 3 too much. 40 nearly dead. But in 1984, 26 Suriname heroin users dead. And hundreds without legs. And I still have contact with them. And the government, no 1,000 guilders for testing. And the campaign for the Ignore Street Dealer for the tourists, €275,000. Thank you.
That is a very shocking story. So, but apart from the poisoned heroin, there was also a lot of heroin that was cut with all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
But did you inform users about that? Did you test that, or how did you go?
The heroin testing had not so niet zo omvangrijk.
Wasn't really big.
No,
No.
because I already said a heroin user don't give his heroin only in really strange situations like poisoned and rumor.
So you don't have a lot of
and
heroin
many times
to
you
work
have to
with.
pay. You have
test.
to pay for that, and we had some black money too. So there's no problem. So, but the point is, the heroin testing, when you're testing heroin, that for a user is your door to them. Mm-hmm. They trust you, and with that, with testing, I started the MDHG, the Junkie Union, the Suriname Junkie Union, the VIP. The very important prostitutes, the heroin users. And because of that testing, they trust you because you are protect them. You protect them. Mm-hmm. And then that's the base of all the projects we started. Like also already in 1975, Johan and me, we already started the discussion of medical prescription of heroin. 1975. It started in Amsterdam in 2002. Needle exchange program. We started in 1980, before the HIV. The first year we already exchanged 500,000 needles. And it's based on trust. So like help the local doctors. New methadone programs we started, Narconon, all the dentists, the new dentist projects, needle exchange, Narcan op the ambulances. You see?
Narcan against heroin overdose.
Yes. So that took 12 years.
It was a big harm reduction.
Gemma, what I will explain, the drug testing is also an instrument that the users, they give you the information and you can change it into harm reduction projects. Yeah. And you offer that to the government against all odds. It always starts against all odds. Mm-hmm. You see? From two sides. When I started the needle exchange program, the heroin user asked me, can you put also heroin in it? Mm-hmm. I said, no, that I can do that. On the other side, the government say, no, you promote the start of the needles. So what we did, that's the third way. We bring the woman from the kindergarten because the needles were lying in the zandbak.
In the playground.
In the playground. So we have the vacuum cleaners, junkies. We call them the vacuum cleaners. They go to that kind of places, pick up the old needles, bring it to my system, and we exchange them. So we bring the housewives from the neighborhood, and we bring them to the mayor. You see. So and also with the heroin prostitutes, because they also give needles in their own circle. You see. What we did, we go to the city hall, and make stickers on the toilet that here was. Sitting, and heroin user with hepatitis C. So the mayor wanted to close down the city hall, and then I phoned him. I said no, and the next day the needle exchange program was formalized.
Yes, introduced.
Yes. Because
formally.
3 years we did it illegal.
So you need the drug testing also to gain the trust of the user and to learn what's going on in user circles and help
drug testing is the eyes and ears of the scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And every scene have its own identity, have its own needs. So like cocaine.
Exactly. Moving on in time, in the 80s, cocaine came on the scene.
Yes.
In a bigger way than before. To snort and to base coke as well.
Late 70s. Late 70s.
Late 70s already.
The cocaine. The sniffing and the smoking. So never use the word crack. That's a word racist
Racist?
racist word. I will explain it later. Smokable cocaine. Then you can, with that word, then you can explain to the government and to the people in the street that there is a big difference between sniffing and smoking. Smoking is a junkie scene, and sniffing is the party drug. So many times I go to Portugal, to the EMCDD,
The European Monitoring Center for Drugs and Alcohol.
Yes, and then, oh, the danger of smoking, the crack is on the dance floor. Many reports and warning systems. And then I explained, smoking on the dance floor is impossible because you smell it. You smell it. So party drugs are always eating, sniffing. So my biggest problem when you start something is not that there is no knowledge, there is wrong knowledge.
Because people are not in touch with the users.
Say cocaine doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. It's HIV, HCl, sniffing, that's have their own setting, their own rules, their own problems, like also the quality. Mm-hmm. So cocaine testing we did also from the 70s. So what happens that the cocaine, HCl, the sniffing, many times there was lidocaine in it. Lidocaine from the dentist. When you go to the dentist and you need a new teeth, or they use lidocaine. So they put it in the cocaine and sell it on the market. By the cocaine base, the users who base the cocaine, who are more in difficult situations because they are more junkie-like, no money, also using heroin together with that. The quality is much more important to control, because the quality of their life is much more dangerous than the quality of the people who are sniffing. You see, because they do it in the discotheque, the gay world, and you see, and they drink, and they're going home, and the rest of the week they go to the work or to school, but in the cocaine base. So we focus more with the testing on the cocaine-based persons, and what you saw that in the 80s, the government start a campaign to fight back the lidocaine into the cocaine. And that's also the profit of testing. In 2 months, there was phenacetine in the cocaine. So lidocaine, it's dangerous into the cocaine. And they cut it out because there were places where you can buy it. And then the phenacetine came into the cocaine. And phenacetine, that's the old white powder from the 50s, aspirine, the witte kruispoeder.
Yeah, I don't know it. But
so it's out of the pharmaceutical industry because of the cancer. You can kidney cancer.
You get kidney, cancer from it. Okay. So much more dangerous.
Since then, yes, and the last 5-6 years, levamisole. And levamisole, they use it for the sheep. When sheep are sick, they give the medicine levamisole. And they are now into the cocaine. So with drug testing, you can also see what's the result of the activities of the government. And with my 50 years of experience, all the activities of the government, police and addiction clinics, always turn in a bad way. I'm sorry to say, but it's always the same. And like the cocaine, fighting the lidocaine, now we have the big problem, and especially the cocaine-based users, because the heating of the cocaine give more poison, and that was also...
So fighting drugs results in endangering the drug user, oftentimes, is your
more
argument.
Polluting
Polluted on the floor. Okay, moving into time towards the wonderful stuff that you brought with you, the Safe House campaign. Late 80s, yet another drug became popular, MDMA. So you had to invent yet another way of testing, another location of testing. On the dance floor you went. What initiated you to go to the dance floor and to start the Safe House campaign?
Before I went to the dance floor, I had to invent a new testing system. And that was 1986. I started my own office, the consultation bureau. And then and we're testing all the drugs. The LSD, and then suddenly someone came in from the Bhagwan world. She came in and she gave me a new tablet.
Which is a new religious group being very popular in the 70s, 80s.
Yeah. She came with a tablet and I brought it to the laboratorium and what the fuck is this? You see? So, but that's also important because that makes you curious. So I go back to the wife, to that woman, sorry, and she gave me more information, you see. And then I start looking out and talking, and then we saw a new movement in the youth culture, the rave. You see? When you look closer to it, in the 60s and the 70s, it was the hippie, tune in, turn on and drop out, with joints of 2 meters and LSD. And in the 80s, the ecstasy came, it was softer. It was not LSD, it was not speed, it was not cannabis, it was soft. I call it the soft drug of the party drugs. A little bit energy and a little bit empathogene. And so the house parties in that time, with the electronic music and the raves, it was similar to Woodstock. It's completely the same, but not with that turn out. It was because in the 60s you had always fighting with your parents. You see, there was a generation conflict. And in the 80s, you live by your parents. The parents give you money for even give you money for the ecstasy. You see, so that was a completely other drug culture. Yeah. And that I sniff up. So we have to do something about this. Legalize it. You see, but the government, it was still legal.
It was legal till 1988.
Yeah. So. But for the first time in the history of drug testing, this time we have to deal with tablet. All the other drugs are liquid, powder, or powder, no tablet. So for the first time, we had the possibility to measuring up the tablet. Each tablet has 30 numbers. The thickness, the diameter.
A diameter?
Yes, the color, white is 0, beige is 1. So every tablet we can catch into 30 numbers. We bring the tablet to the laboratorium on Monday. On Thursday we have the results, and we brought that. In that time there was no computer. We had long lists, and we write down the 30 numbers with the quality of the tablet behind it. And that was the start of completely something new. And then we find a liquid, a marquee test, that when you scrap a little bit of the tablet, you put it on
Oh, maybe we can show it.
Here are the tablets. You measure it up. Here are the 30 numbers. You bring it to the lab. The results come back, and you have a list. So every pill who came into my office and are measuring up and have the same 30 numbers, we can say what's in it. That was 1987. But we have to do it without computers, without laptops. It was terrible. What a work. But in 1 minute, we have the results. And when the tablet has another number, we said, give it to me. And then we brought it to the laboratorium. On Monday, we sent it to the laboratorium. 3 days later, we have the results. And so the list became longer. And that was the technique to go to the dance floor.
And where did you Who funded the whole program? Because it must have cost quite some.
I don't know. That's my board. My board are doing that.
Okay.
I had no money problems.
No. Okay.
But that's not my field.
No, you're just.
It was there.
It was there.
I had a little money from the government. I had a little money from Amsterdam.
Okay.
But the rest we have to earn it by ourselves. But
for instance, with the testing.
Yes. So, for instance, when we start on the dance floor, the party world, the organizers, they really loved me because I keep the dance floor safe.
Yeah.
So I started. Also a result of drug testing, I started the National Party Union, the Union of Party Organizers. So nowadays, Holland is famous all over the world by the DJs and the party organizers. They started in my office in 1992 to profilize them by the drug testing system. Ja, dat is echt waar. Ja, sorry, sometimes you can laugh at me, but it's really the truth. So the big DJs who earn millions of money, they were little students in my time in the 1992 when we organized it. Because with the drug testing, we also can start, we can find on the dance floor when there is drug use among the staff. No drug dealer on the dance floor. Fuck off. Because a drug dealer on the dance floor is aggressive, always. When you want to use your drugs, buy it in the week, testing on my office. On the dance floor we are for the latest safety, but don't buy it on the dance floor. So I also trained police how they can recognize a dance dealer. Because using drugs as a party drugs, you always have to do it secretly, without that someone who don't want to use don't see it. So the toilet or so drug dealers, they are needed through the week without problems. You see, you can test. And you can organize also with the drug testing that you go to the party.
But many people, I think, okay, I go to a party, I buy it there from a dealer on the dance floor and have it tested at the spot.
But in my talking with the, you see, there were parties. My biggest party was 120,000 people. So weeks before, you go sitting with the mayor and the police and the first aid people and the ambulance people. You see, and then you bring in your rules. And when they don't accept my rule, sorry, I go. But what I try to explain is that with drug testing, you also can, when you see the wrong tablets on the dance floor, you can go to the first aid. Yeah. And you can say, hey, watch out, this and this and this and this. The first aid people, they can change it into the medical treatment. I'm not a doctor, you see. So to
you
all
can warn
parts,
people, don't buy the blue pills because they're dangerous tonight.
Safe house, safe drive.
Maybe Sophie, can you hold up some stuff so that August can sit? And then you can show us a couple of things that you brought with us. They were also at the parties. When you went to a party, you brought this with you.
Dit was the table was in the corner, and dit was the safe house.
The safe house here was hanging, and what is this?
That is safe drive.
Or maybe somebody can help Sophie. Hold it up. So you did safe house, safe sex, and safe drive.
Yes.
You should sit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the film.
So, for instance, safe drive. We had flyers. Dit was bij de uitgang. Wat is de uitgang? De exit.
The exit.
This hang on the exit. So when the 4 or 5 people they had a party, they're going to the car, and they see that when you have used or smoked or sniffed, don't drive because then the ambulance or the begrafenisauto.
Yeah, the undertaker.
The undertaker will drive you. So, but it was also a part of the talking with the mayor that I only go testing on parties where there is public openbaar vervoer.
Public transport.
There was public transport. So you have to give the visitors who are tired, because tiredness is much more dangerous driving than when your ecstasy is not working anymore. So that was the integrale safe house. You see, parties, they need public transport. But in the meantime, for the people who are by the car, so I have a lot of filmen that you can see that sometimes we say 6 and 8 persons, they were tired and they go to the car, and then always the girls. I love the girls on the parties because they are the persons, they always correct the men. Don't drive, I drive. You see, but also by my test table. Listen to August. Listen, oh no, I bought pills. No, the quality is not good, you see. And even in the hardcore time of the parties, the gabber, with the
gabber is like the Dutch
Aussies,
techno.
the Aussies, and they had no hair here, and the makeup. They were in line sometimes with 300 people staying in line for testing, you see, and. So that was the Safe House campaign. And with all the pills we didn't recognize on the dance floor, we brought it to the laboratorium for the next week.
Yeah.
And that was the system. But
and it ran until 1999?
Yes.
And then things changed in the Netherlands as well, because it has been tolerated, even though MDMA was illegal.
Yeah.
You could do it, you could be on the parties. And then in 2002, testing on the dance floor was legally prohibited.
Yes, by the Christian parties.
Because it was sending a wrong message of legitimizing use.
And, but Gemma are already stopped in 1999.
Yes. Why did you stop?
The legitimization of ecstasy testing is also bullshit, because what we saw, 2 times a university control my system. The University of the Police and the University of Utrecht. You see, and what you can see is by the start of the evening by testing, 40–50% of the tablets were not good, and during the night they were gone. So what you can see is that when I had to give the answer, this is not a good pill, the blue pill, there are too much ecstasy in it, or
fake,
or atropine,
fake.
Fake. Then the girl always talked to the guy, let's go to the dance floor dealer. And what you can see, and then I said, yeah. And the dance floor dealer, gone. we clean up the dance floor with the dealers. And then and you can see it in the figures. And the police also, wow, the system works. Mm-hmm. What happens, at the end of the 90s, there became a rumor that Holland was the producer of ecstasy worldwide. So what happens, this is really true. What happens, the Prime Minister of Holland and the Minister of Health Care from the left parties, the socialist parties, they had to go to Clinton. And Bill Clinton, he said, all the ecstasy comes from you. You have to do something. And they came back to Holland with the DEA, the
Drug Enforcement Agency.
Yes. They put the DEA into Rotterdam, and then they start the unit synthetic drugs. So in November 1996 there was a press conference with our Prime Minister and our Minister of Health. We are fighting the ecstasy that much that also the users can buy it anymore. So, but what happens, the first generation of ecstasy producers, they stopped. Because they came out of the party world. Always, that's also a thing. When a drug is criminalizing, there starts a distance between the user and the producer.
So the old dealers, they got scared for the bigger sentencing.
So, and then what happens then,
punished.
that I always on the dance floor testing, by one rule, the police is on the dance floor by uniform. Because you have to recognize the police. Mm-hmm. From that time, the stiller, the
undercover
came on the dance floor. And they came to my table. I was testing, and then you can sniff them, eh? You can smell them, the undercover. You smell them. But what happens, rumor. So many times party who tested by me, they were arrested. So I go to the mayor the next week. I said, what the fuck is going on here? We have the rules, police in uniform on the dance floor. Yeah, I'm sorry, August, blah, 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 blah. But the next time, the unit is data drugs. The American way of the Dutch drugs policy started there. And it's still there. So I had to make a decision also to protect my staff.
Because who was your staff? How did you get? Were there volunteers?
Volunteers.
Just from your network.
I had three staff, and two. They were. Without them, I can. You know so much, but I couldn't live without them. They all died already. And they were my left hand and my right hand, and they developed this system. Also this system, and many things they developed. They were, because not this. You have to be curious, because when something is illegal, don't listen to users. Don't listen to users. You have to. You have to rechercheren.
Yeah, really do research. Detective,
you have to
be a detective.
Users. That's a difference. Many monitor from the University of Drug Trends, they listen to the users, and many times half of the story they tell is true and half is bullshit. You have to know the difference. Mm-hmm. And my staff. They had it, and me too, because I was a street corner worker. I know the bullshit and what's really.
And your staff, were they using themselves, or how did they know so well what to believe, or
not when they're working.
Okay.
And the rest of the time,
what they did was their business. Sure.
Okay,
well.
So
the American way.
The American way. So what happens? I phoned the Ministry of Health. I phoned the city, the mayor of Amsterdam. The undercover is on the dance floor, and they are on my table. So, what can you choose? You choose the criminal side, or you use the pragmatic, the third way. And they didn't make a decision. That's also typical Dutch. They never make decisions. You see? Yes, you can do it together. Fuck off. You see? So we stopped. And we did the testing on my office.
Yes.
Because every
long
Monday...
lines were there before your consultation bureau on Friday night or Thursday night, before the weekend began.
Monday morning at 10 o'clock, my door is open, even when we have worked in the weekend. Then the pills come in and everything's come in. And the same day it went to the hospital, to the laboratorium. And on Thursday, the results come back. Yeah. And the first thing we always did is the test result translated into first aid advices to the ambulances. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Every Friday, the meldkamer. What is a meldkamer?
Oh, a reporting room from the police.
Where all the first aid phones come in. You see, all drug related. They had what they call the list of August. They had the list. Yes, they did this. Sometimes they phoned from the spot itself. Yeah, someone say, I use a Mitsubishi. And then the ambulance brother said, yeah, August Mitsubishi, that's a car. No, I said, no, it's a tablet. It's an actual tablet. So give me not the victim, but the friend. And then and then in 2 minutes I knew what's going on. Give me back the ambulance brother. I said, okay, you have to. I don't know if you have to put the thing in the
infused drip.
Yeah, I don't know. But this is in it.
Yeah, you give him information so that the ambulance nurse can do the proper treatment. Yeah. We have to wrap this up, August, but final question is about today and the future, because drug testing is still there. It's a standing practice in the Netherlands today. You can have your drugs tested at addiction treatment centers or at the municipal health care center. So would you say that's good, we've achieved what we wanted, or are you not happy with how things are done today? What is your message for today and the future about drug testing?
I know there's all drug testing in other countries. Let me say it clear. I'm really happy that's there. Mm-hmm. But the real thing is gone. Because the drug testing system here in Holland is a part of the second. You have
the first and the second way, the policing and the addiction treatment.
Yeah.
It's located there now.
When I stopped with drug testing in 2016, I make a plea a few months before. Drug testing has to be organized by an independent organization, because drug testing is the only project who are influencing the market. No other harm reduction project do that. Directly, you can influence the market. I call that the self-controlling mechanism of the drug market. The user has the power to change, to bring back the quality of the drug. And drug testing helps them. They give them the tools. So, but from the moment now the drug testing in Holland is so organized, also because of the talking with Clinton in the 90s, that the minister, he or she, makes the decision if we have to start a red alert. But the minister, he or she said, oh, you have to start a red alert by the information of the drug testing system. Mm-hmm. I always fighting already more than 15 years, no. We make the decision.
The expert, the tester.
Yes, and the minister has to trust me. And when I do wrong, I have to go to him and I have to say sorry to him.
So the final responsibility now is placed in the wrong way, in your opinion?
By the minister. So what happens, when bad results come from the laboratorium, that doesn't say nothing. Because, for instance, the cocaine came in years ago. Cocaine came in with atropine. Then you talk about something, you see. So I brought it with a helicopter to the laboratorium, figuratively, and then the atropine came back. But then, the minister, yeah. I said, no, I wait for the person who brought it. So the person who brought it, I talked with him. I said, this is really bullshit. This is really bullshit. Where did you have bought it? Yeah, the dealer gave it to me. So the dealer used him to see what happens with the way that he put atropine in. When he said, I bought it in discotheque, blah, 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 where every day 2,000 people comes in, I used the same helicopter to start a red alert. That's my decision. But because of the minister said, I look to the result of the laboratorium, then we have to start a red alert. In my career of red alerts, even I placed ads in the newspaper, can the producer of a special tablet, and it was secret language, the only one who can recognize what I'm writing was the producer. Uh-huh. So, and then I have to go to a train station somewhere and blah, 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 and then I can, my results that he take away all the drugs.
So you say, okay, it creates too much a panic, too easy panic.
Because the minister,
because the minister says, oh,
Gemma, when I'm a minister, I do the same. He did, because when it's next day in the newspaper that you have to wait for a drug user. Yeah, I don't wait for a drug user. Mm. No, the drug user is my specialist. I need him.
Yeah.
So I have many examples. So in my plea, when I stopped with drug testing in my office, that was my gift to the drug testing system in Holland. Make yourself independent, far away from the minister. He has to pay you. And then make a protocol to de verantwoordelijkheden. The responsibilities have to
be clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's. I have more things about that the drug testing. Say it at last. Drug testing is there, but the real thing.
The spirit you did it with.
Yes, to influence the market and to grab the wrong people in it and give power to the good people in it. That's gone.
Thank you for this wonderful overview of the history of drug testing and your ideas on the present and the future.
Gemma, I want to talk 4 more hours later.
I know you do,
5
August.
minutes of 5%
and this is only the first
experience.
of interviews, because I know there are 10 more hours in you. I know this. But the audience might have some questions of their own, and maybe we can look at some more of the objects. Are there any people with questions, perhaps for August or? Anne-Marie?
It's a huge question, but how does Netherlands compare to other countries?
That's a difficult question, Anne-Marie. In many ways, it goes really wrong in Holland. I already explained with closing down the coffee shop. You see, in the war on drugs country, the USA, the legalization of cannabis is really wow. You see, but when the mayor from Denver or of Houston comes to Amsterdam with, we legalized the cannabis, and I show him the coffee shop, then he said, oh, that's the missing link. You see, because a society who drinks alcohol without pubs, that's addiction. You see, the pub. You need the pub for socializing the use of alcohol. For socializing and a safe setting of cannabis, you need the coffee shop. So the experiment here in Holland to legalize the back door of the coffee shops, it takes 7 years. 7 years we have to wait for that. And then the result will be that in the meantime, they close down more and more coffee shops. And I always said, we need more. For instance, in Holland, it's forbidden to have a coffee shop 250 meters from a school. Because you have to protect the students, you see. What happens, they close down a lot of coffee shops. Why though? So the coffee shops are still open, are more busy. So the students, they even didn't know that there was a coffee shop in the street. And secondly, the mayor of Amsterdam, we have enough coffee shops, we have 180 coffee shops, we have enough. So he closed down 45 coffee shops because of this new law, you see. What happens, the 45 coffee shops that he closed down, more than 20 were Moroccan related. The Moroccan young people came there for smoking with their own ketama, you see, with their own playing. You see, they closed down. And I went to the owner who gave the last party to close down the coffee shop, and then his visitors, the Moroccan blowers, they all start yelling, ISIS, ISIS, ISIS. We kill the mayor. You see, so I have to. You understand that when they take away your coffee shop, for instance, when in Amsterdam they close down because they have to close down pubs, and 20% of that are gay coffee shops. I think the mayor will, the whole gay society will jump on him, and that's correct. You see, and now we have a huge cocaine problem among the Moroccan youngers. Maybe there's a relation between closing down. And so I go back to the mayor and I said, yeah, you said, 160 and 40 can close down, no problem, we have enough. And then I explained him, yeah, but what kind of coffee shops you have closed down? And then he said, And that,
Was this on purpose? Was this on purpose that those particular coffee shops were closed down?
no, they were 250 meters near a school, and it doesn't matter. They don't look to what kind of coffee shops it is. The mainstream coffee shop we have enough, but especially for Moroccan youngsters, for Turkish youngsters, you see, they are closing down. And even the mayor didn't know. And then he asked me, yeah, why I don't know that? And then I say, yeah, you have a police system, and you have the twee sporen, the second. They have the knowledge because they rule those two, police and the addiction, the verslavingszorg.
Addiction treatment.
Yeah, they rule the drugs policy. They don't know. They don't know nothing. They don't see what's really going on. That's a third way. And the testing is... so, in many... for instance, Holland... And that's my last remark or answering you. Till 2 years ago, the coffee shops in Holland was based on the politic statement. Yes, they are an instrument to keep the hard drugs away from the soft drugs. More than 50 years, that is the statement. On that base, the coffee shop system exists. 5 years ago, it's turned into that the organized crime poisoning the society. That's a new doctrine. The organized crime. I said, there is no organized crime. There is a de-organized crime. The drugs crime is a part of the society. And there are mafia types, but the rest is among in the society, you see. So the coffee shops is not an instrument of keeping the hard drugs away from the soft drugs. Now it's the coffee shop is make money to influence the society by the black money, etc. So the change in the politic, how they give, how they look to coffee shops is completely changed. And that is the beginning of the end. Even the legalization of the coffee shop will be bullshit. Because when you think like that the coffee shop is an instrument of the organized crime, when you think like that, you are crazy.
Any other? Stefan?
I have a question on the laboratories. I know, like for the German early drug checking cases, they worked with the state laboratories from the state hospitals. But then the state hospitals put themselves quite at risk, actually having illegal substances. So how is it with the Dutch case? Did like with what kind of laboratories did you cooperate, or did you start your own laboratories eventually? How did this come about?
Yeah, that's a typical result of Holland. You see that all the projects I did, like I already explained, needle exchange program, it's always against all odds when you start it. But that's typical Dutch. They give it a little bit room. We call that gedogen. Gedogen. That is, we know it's there, but you see, and that gives you the room to experiment with your new harm reduction projects. So when I start testing ecstasy, from the moment I accepted ecstasy tablet in my office, I'm a criminal. But the government knows that now why you are doing it, you see, and they accept it. So, for instance, 500 meters around my office, it was forbidden for the police to arrest someone who was walking to my office for testing ecstasy. Yes, when he has 500 pills in his pocket, okay. But when he can make it sure. So sometimes there were police were looking for a cocaine address in Amsterdam, but they were in the 500 meters. We have big problems. I have to fall. Oh, can you move a little bit? But they accept it. So that gives you the room. that gives you the rule. So all the laboratoriums, they were state ruled by the government. They have the same gedogen. And then after a few years, yeah, they make protocols. But based on that you proved that you are staying on the good side of the, that you are staying on the good side. They have to trust you, you see, because I can do. Maybe I have 6 houses in France and I have 5 boats in the harbor. You see, you can make with drug tests. You can make a lot of money, many times. And then when someone came in and he left an envelope, but then I have to phone the head of my Stichting, the
Foundation.
The foundation, and then someone come and pick it up. I didn't touch. And then the guy come back, and then I phoned to the head of my office, and then he said, "Here, you have your money back." I like that stories.
Trying to bribe you.
Hè?
Trying to bribe you.
Nou ja, dat ik uitslagen geef wat hem.
that he likes.
Because you don't know if it's a user of a producer.
No,
you see?
exactly. Yeah.
But I like, for instance, in the newspaper I make an ad. Will the producer of this ecstasy tablet contact me? So I went to a train station, and there was sitting the producer, the money man. You can see it, and the gorilla. You see, they're sitting next to you. And then they start, you need 1 or 2 hours talking with them that you are on the good side. They're not from the police. And and then after 2 hours, I say, yeah, they make a tablet with 120 milligram on it. But we bring it to the lab and it was 240 milligram. And then you have a problem. Because in the first time, when I saw the 120 milligram, that's good. For a woman, you take a half, and after a few hours you take the other half, and a guy can take it all. You see? Then you have a safe use. But 240, that's third aid. So I explained him, yeah, what have you done? So after 2 hours, I explained him that he didn't sell it anymore. So he walked away. I said, ho, come back. How much are already on the market? I don't tell you. I said, when you don't tell me, I start a red alert. So tell me. And then he explained how much on the market. Then we start a red alert on that 250E yellow tablet. 6 weeks later, the same tablet came on the market in purple, 120. But nowadays, the minister, do you think that the minister will go to that person and talk with him?
Thomas.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this many informations and even more raising more questions about, for example, you spoke about heroin coming into Amsterdam, to the Netherlands.
Yes.
In the 60s, you said?
No,
Early
72.
72. So what's your interpretation? Why then and why here?
You know the movie French Connection with Gene Hackman. Yeah, you know that. The heroin from that time came from the Golden Triangle: Burma, Vietnam, Thailand. Yeah, the Golden Triangle. It was the white heroin, and then normally it was the French and the American were in Vietnam at that time, also in Thailand. So it was over there, Marseille, USA, and in Marseille, the rest of Europe. But the DEA killed the French connection. So there was a collapse. Marseille was gone. They needed a new city in Europe. That became Amsterdam. Because of our infrastructure, the Schiphol, the airfield is 2 minutes from here. And we have a huge Chinese quarter in Amsterdam, in the Binnenbandtammer. Where is the opium? So I was street color worker in that time, and I was only the first white person who can come into the places where they smoking opium. And there were 200-300 opium users, white, artists, singers, addicts, smoking opium. So
Shooting it up also.
No.
Yes,
no,
they
no.
did. They
Yeah,
did.
but it was
Some of them.
Yeah, but difficult because the opium is really difficult to get into.
I know, but some did.
Yeah. Yes, therefore that became one of the popularity of heroin because you can shoot it much easier.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens? The opium dealer give the opium under the parked cars on the in nearby, and the 200 opium users they put 25 guilders and they took the heroin, cocaine. It was already more than 45 years that was the situation, but then the heroin came in Amsterdam as the new Marseille, and then the first thing what happens is that the Chinese, not the Chinese dealer, but from the Col de Triangle, they didn't talk Dutch. That was a problem for them. So what they did, they phoned the police to arrest the opium dealers. So in 1972, the newspapers, the Amsterdam police, oh, success, we killed the opium market. But it was informed by the heroin dealers. It happens in 6 weeks. I was a street corner worker. I was in that part of the city. I was looking about what the fuck is going on here, and but have everything to do with the Vietnam War, etc. Yeah. So what happens then? That it's near the sex industry, the wallen, and there is the pooiers, the
pimps, yeah.
The pimps. Many of them from Suriname, and they had their own street where they have their pubs and their music, and they have their wives and big American cars. And then the Chinese heroin dealers, they need an intermediary to bring the heroin also to the 200 opium users, and they use the Suriname pimps. You see, that's the real story of the introduction of heroin. But the next question is why it became so popular. Because the 200 opium users, that was enough, and they like it because it was easier okay. But what happens in the 70s, the society changed from tune in, turn on, and drop out. The repression came in the 70s. I call it the 70s the negative decennium. And among youngsters, that they thought with the hippie we would create a new world, they started depressed. And many sniffed to the heroin. Because the heroin, the pink cloud, you don't have problems, 6 hours, you don't have problems. So one of the first new groups of heroin users were flipped hippies. Secondly, a lot of American soldiers are walking in Amsterdam, even with their uniforms. They came from the NATO bases in Heidelberg. You're from Germany, yeah? Yeah. From many countries, because many addicted American soldiers were in the NATO bases before they go to the USA. But they still addicted to heroin, and they came to Amsterdam. And then, what happens? Really, pure toeval, pure coincidence. In the same time, the Dutch government claimed that Suriname will be independent in 1975. So what happens? 350,000 Suriname families came to Holland. A lot of them came to Amsterdam. And the youngsters, 16, 17, 18 years old, they thought paradise. Holland, paradise, etc., etc. So they what happens, they were in the poor parts of the city. They brought them to the poor parts of the city. I had an office to give them housing, and what I saw, it was terrible. You see, so that was the new group of the heroin users, because they go to the places, to the discotheque, and Holland and Amsterdam is not so tolerated.
No.
This is not so. So they didn't accept in Holland unemployment, the places where everyone goes for the parties. They don't accept it. So they go to the pimp places, and the heroin was there.
We will be talking about that more tomorrow with Gordon Cruden. And I think we will need a next interview about this period separately, because that is worth it.
I can talk for hours about heroin.
I know, me too. So we should do that sometime as well. But for now, I think we should do a break, because after this we will have a presentation also by Anne-Marie. We will have Hans Plomp, who also brought wonderful stuff with him. So for now, I just want to say, August, thank you so much for sharing a part of your rich memory and stories with us. It was really wonderful. Thank you.
Rich.